nightcap.
There you go.
We're here, we're drinking beer, and we're talking about your Sacramento Kings. If you're a Kings fan, make sure you hit that like button down below and consider subscribing to the channel. Oh man, that's a delicious,
Hallelujah. I like that, Kristen. I like
delicious
that a lot.
beverage. Shout out to Kristen, Jeff, Gotham, Fred, Mike Monticello. I see you guys here in the chat. Summer Low, Teddy King. Oh, I gotta show Teddy's comment in the chat here. Much appreciated. FLA. I totally agree. All right, guys. Well, Sacramento Kings end up with a win. They end the 5-game losing streak. Metu started tonight. Rashawn Holmes, we saw him back on the bench. Kings win 125-116. They played much better defense in this game, which is interesting to say considering they gave up 116 points.
Second half was good.
Yes.
First half was not that great.
We saw Tyrese Halliburton play much better. We saw De'Aaron Fox have a great game tonight. And it all ends in a Kings victory, and that is the most important part, right, Cal?
100%. Peja has turned around. I hope you guys are okay with that today after a nice big Kings win.
Yeah, huge Kings win. You know, I want to jump right here into the box score because there's a lot to talk about with this game. But I want to give a shout out to HB, 23 points tonight for him. You and I had both been talking about how we're missing the old HB, and we got HB back tonight. So you want to jump here into the box score?
Yeah, Harrison Barnes was huge. All the starters were huge in this game. None bigger than De'Aaron Fox. He leads the way with 29 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists. Him and Tyrese Halliburton were great in the backcourt tonight. 14 for Tyrese to go along with 10 assists, 2 steals, 1 block. HB, 23 points on 9 of 14 shooting, 3 of 6 from 3. And then, yeah, Metu and Bagley were big as well, getting the start tonight, 16 and 14 points for each of them. And Buddy Hield, the only bench player with double figures, 10 points off the bench on 4 of 8 shooting.
Another double-double for Tyrese Halliburton tonight, which was good to see. Some awesome defense by him. But I also got to give a shout-out to Marvin Bagley. I think Bagley played an awesome game tonight, 7 of 12 from the field, as you mentioned, 16 points, 9 rebounds. We saw him hit a 3, which I know you've been talking about. So really, really happy to see that from him. And then anybody you want to mention here on the Lakers?
Yeah, Malik Monk, once again. He did most of his damage in the first half. There were really only 3 players that scored for the Lakers tonight. LeBron, Malik Monk, and Austin Reeves. If you had that on your bingo card, you probably won tonight. 19 points for him off the bench in 28 minutes, 7 of 10 shooting. Malik Monk was great again. It was mostly in the first half that he really killed the Kings, but 6 of 9, once again from 3, 22 points. That just happens to be what he's averaging against the Kings this year.
Yeah, I think Malik Monk is probably on the best contract in the NBA at this point.
100%.
He's not making a lot of money, and he is definitely overperforming. But I got to give a shout-out to Austin Reeves. You know, if the Lakers won this game, I think he would have been the MVP.
Perhaps.
You look at LeBron James, 34 points tonight. Another great game for LeBron. I saw the numbers since AD's been out, and LeBron is looking like a serious MVP candidate in those 12 games. Mm-hmm. But as I said, Austin Reeves was all over the place. I can't even count how many fouls he drew tonight.
He was on the floor a lot.
Dude must have been an actor in his previous life. But, hey, he's also making buckets, making shots. We saw a game winner from him earlier this season. It seems like LeBron always needs a goofy white dude on his team. You know, like you go back to Mike Miller, Alex Caruso, Cedi Osman.
Mm-hmm.
So it's childhood dream, dude. I would love to be Austin Reeves right now.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And he stepped up big for them today, and he's been, finding his way into this lineup all year long. For a guy in his rookie season that, you weren't really expecting much from, to come on to a team that is as talented as the Los Angeles Lakers and to be able to crack that lineup, that's pretty impressive.
I hear Kristen shouting, play in, play in, play in.
It's one game, but hey, this was a great step forward.
1-6.
Yeah. And honestly, because of the way the West is, the plan is still a realistic. It's still realistic for this team. So the Kings, they looked a lot better tonight, and I thought the biggest difference that was made was the fact that Metu and Bagley started. And it's not the fact that those two individual people started. It's the style of play that the Kings were allowed to perform with because they didn't have a big man that occupies the middle of the floor playing heavy minutes. I don't criticize coaching too often, but it was pretty clear to me when Alvin Gentry went to the bench early in the fourth quarter. He brought in Davion Mitchell and Alex Len. That was before Dwight Howard had even entered the game. Mm-hmm. The Kings were off to a really good start. They weren't really getting any stops, but they were keeping pace with the Lakers offensively. They were scoring. Metu and Bagley, they have much different skill sets, obviously, than Alex Len, and they bring a lot more floor spacing. And I think that if you're not going to make any deals or change this roster over a lot, this is the style of play that this Kings team needs to go with. They need to have floor spacing so they can get out in transition and run, play fast, clear the lane for Fox, and score a ton of points. This is not a good defensive team. Doesn't mean you don't try defensively, but you have to play to your strengths. And this team's strengths should be to get out and run, push the ball all game long, and get transition threes. You saw what wonders it worked for the offense. De'Aaron Fox was able to attack the basket at will. The Kings had a season-high 70 points in the paint tonight. They had a tie for a season-high 23 fast break points as well. That's the style of play that this team needs. We talk so much about identity. Who is this Kings team? Where are they going? How do they play? This is how they need to play every night.
Yeah, I totally agree. And, that's what we talked about is the difference between a good team and a bad team, right? Is being able to do this every single night. It's funny, I was going to ask you what you thought about the starting lineup tonight and starting Metu instead of Len, and I thought that's a fantastic answer. But for me, spacing was key. We saw Metu hit that three late in the game that basically sealed the game for Sacramento. But for me, it was rim protection. I love what I saw from Metu. He had a couple awesome blocks right at the basket. He made them work for it. Everyone's been talking about LeBron James is starting at center. He can do all these things. This Lakers team is such a big team, but they're starting LeBron at the center. We saw them try and throw Dwight Howard back in the game to kind of right the ship because he's had huge games against the Kings this year, and it just didn't work for them. The Kings were able to close out quarters. They were able to stop runs, and they were able to go on their own runs. I know in the third quarter they had a 24-3 run that was huge for them.
Yeah.
And, also I got to give a shout out to Mark Jones. I thought he did a good job calling the game tonight. A lot of very always memorable quotes. I love Halliburton put him in the friend zone. That was a great one. That was right after one of his blocks. But it just seemed like this Kings team was reinvigorated. And it's funny, I'm looking at my notes here in the first quarter. I'm like, miscommunications on defense. The Kings, are kind of out of it. And then as my notes go on, like, I love what I'm seeing from them. They're playing much better. They're communicating. It seemed like this was the first game that De'Aaron Fox and Tyrese were kind of on the same page defensively. And they were, making up for each other, helping each other out. If someone was going for a steal or taking a gamble, the other guy was there to get their back. And that was really big for me in this game.
Yeah, absolutely. They did not play good defense in the first half. And when you play a LeBron James team, obviously it's a very difficult task. And I think you can get caught more often than you need to as a help defender, just simply watching LeBron. And that is the last thing that you can do against a guy that is that smart and that good of a facilitator, that good of a passer. In the first half, they weren't really committing the double team fast enough. They weren't sure where it was going to come from all the time, and that screwed up their rotations. And that's why you got wide open three after wide open three for Malik Monk. And that was how the Lakers built a double-digit lead in the first half. Luckily, the Kings were able to close the gap because they were playing well offensively in their own right. But in the second half, I thought they had a much better plan of how to attack. The guys that were taking the open threes in the second half were Russell Westbrook, Austin Reeves, who did hit a few, and LeBron. And as great a player as LeBron is, I will always take him shooting a three over him posting somebody up in the high post with a double team coming, because he's going to pick that apart every single time.
Or get into the basket.
Or gets fouled.
Yeah. Yeah, speaking of which, I thought the referees were trash in this game, especially against Sacramento. Good. I saw Marvin Bagley like clearly hit right across the arm on his injured thumb. You know, I wasn't sure if he was going back into the locker room or not, or just into the tunnel to get on his bike that he normally does, but I didn't see him come back out.
Oh, yeah, he was on the bench.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that was a very, very obvious call. We saw a call where De'Aaron Fox drives to the basket, gets hit hard, falls down. And, you know, this is something I was actually upset with Fox about this. And it's not really his fault because it should have been called. But I wasn't happy with how he reacted. He laid on the ground. He didn't get back. It turned into a Lakers 3.
He had multiple of those plays, unfortunately.
Yeah, it turned into a Lakers 3. And I'm like, man, I know how you're frustrated, because I'm frustrated too. The referees are not calling shit. But you got to get back on defense. You got to keep playing the game. You just can't. Yeah. But, you know, I thought the referees did a horrible job in this game. And it was just really frustrating to watch. But I'm glad the Kings were able to overcome that. Yeah,
I totally agree with that. It was not a well officiated game by any stretch of the imagination. But the Kings did get to the free throw line a bunch. 19 free throw attempts, and they knocked them down. Fox and Halliburton were a combined 9 of 11 at the foul line.
Yeah,
that's really good.
Were you worried at the end of the game when Buddy gets the ball and he slipped and fell down? I know they got the timeout there, but apparently there was a wet spot on the ground or something, and he slips and falls down, and I'm like, uh-oh, not again. Please, not again.
I was worried. Well, I was worried before that when LeBron makes that layup to cut it to 2.
Yeah.
I think it was 118, 116. I'll be honest, after losing 5 games in a row, I did think that this was going to be another loss.
Oh, man.
But I give the Kings a lot of credit. They came out, they stuck to what worked for them in the second half offensively.
Yep.
Push the ball with De'Aaron Fox, get it into the paint, and get transition threes for guys like Buddy and Harrison Barnes. You know, HB attempted 6 threes in this game, 23 points.
Yeah,
that's something that the Kings have been missing for a long, long time.
It was a great game, and we actually saw him get to the basket too tonight, which was awesome. Just seemed like a whole different Harrison Barnes. 9 for 14 from the field. This Kings team shot really well as a team, 55% from the field, which you're going to win a lot of games when you do stuff like that. But just back on the whole subject of Buddy Hield, he gets the ball at the end of the game because the Lakers are going to foul. He's the best free throw shooter on the team, so he gets the ball. What's your feeling on the guy that gets the ball at the end of the game? He may be your best free throw shooter, but he's not the best decision maker.
Yeah.
That's a weird combination, right?
It's a very weird combination. You have to be pretty much 100% sure that the team is going to foul. But from the opposing team's perspective, you're right. I think they could try to, instead of automatically fouling, you could try to trap or just send guys at him, try to get him to make a mistake first and foremost.
Mm-hmm.
And thankfully that didn't happen tonight. But, for the most part, in a late game situation, when the game clock is under a minute or even under 30 seconds, as long as your best free throw player can somewhat dribble, which Buddy Hield can, you try to get him the ball for sure. But I think Tyrese could slowly move into that role. He only attempted 2 free throws tonight, and he really doesn't attempt a ton of free throws per game in general. I'd like to see, obviously you'd like to see him get more free throw attempts, get to the basket more, and draw more fouls. But I think they could go to him in those late game situations for free throws as well.
Yep. We got to see Buddy get a dunk tonight too.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool.
How'd you like that self alley-oop half 360 attempt that he threw up?
I mean,
It obviously wasn't during the game, but
Yeah.
after the whistle.
He's always trying to get shots up.
Yeah.
He's just trying to entertain the crowd.
Did you see Alvin Gentry giving it to Buddy Hield on the sideline tonight?
No, I missed that.
I was trying to figure out what was happening. It was in the second half. Fox ended up getting fouled, but Alvin Gentry immediately grabs Buddy Hield after the whistle blows, and he's pointing at him, he's yelling at him, he's cussing at him. I couldn't quite read his lips, but it was like very, very aggressive. My only guess as to what happened is that Buddy Hield either was not in the right position on the play, or he totally stood stagnant. When the play broke down, luckily you have a guy like De'Aaron Fox who can create and get stuff off the dribble. But I think he was unhappy with where Buddy Hield was first and foremost, and the fact that he didn't move to try to help create an outlet for Fox. But he really gave it to him.
I mean, there's different types of people with different personality types, and people react differently to things. And sometimes you have to motivate people in the way that they're motivated best. And it seems like yelling at Buddy Hield is the way to motivate him. Like we've seen Mo Harkless do it. We've seen some of these other guys do it. Like some people just need to be yelled at. I don't know. I don't know Buddy personally, but it seems like that is the approach that many people take against Buddy Hield when he's making mistakes.
Yeah.
Strange. Very, very strange. What did you like from and what did you dislike from Davion Mitchell tonight?
I really liked what I saw from Davion. First of all, he's been struggling shooting, as we all know. But his mind was really made up, it looked like, to get to the basket tonight. And he had a bunch of really nice drives. He had a great hesitation drive on LeBron James, puts up the layup, scores on him. Anytime you can do that on LeBron, I don't care who you are or what the situation is, that's a good move right there. But I think he was really focused on trying to get easier shots tonight, and he played great defense, great defense, which you come to expect from him at this point.
Yeah, I wanted to see him make that three. I don't remember who was guarding him, but he took him one-on-one, broke him down, stepped back, took the three. It was a little bit short.
Reeves when
the
ankle breaker move.
Yeah, a little late in the game, but yeah, I think he's getting more and more confidence, which is good.
As poorly as he's shot over both in stints, the beginning of the season and now this past, ever since he came back from health and safety protocol, he's got to keep shooting. He has to keep shooting. You have to be a threat on the floor. He's not a pass-first guard. He's a score-first guard. Yep. So I would like to see him continue to try to take the ball to the basket like he did tonight, but he's got to continue to take open shots when he has them.
Yeah, I agree. Only 1 minute for Keita tonight. A lot of people have been talking about how this guy needs more playing time. They like what they saw from him.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Not the right matchup tonight. Just like Alex Len, I really, when I said earlier in the show that I don't critique coaching too much, when I was talking about Alex Len getting subbed into the game in the first quarter, I thought a little prematurely. It was before Dwight Howard had checked into the game. I give a lot of credit to Alvin Gentry in the second half because he only put Alex Len in the game when Dwight Howard was playing. He didn't try to, yes, he did play a few minutes on the floor when Dwight Howard was on the bench, but that's going to happen. But I thought that he totally understood where the Kings had an advantage in this game offensively. They needed that floor spacing. They needed the more athletic bigs like Metu and Bagley in there to counteract the smaller lineup that the Lakers were playing with. And I would hope, as the Kings are going to play 2 games against the Rockets after this, that we see that same lineup against the Rockets as well, because Houston is not a big team either.
Yeah, Alex Len cannot guard LeBron James.
No, and he couldn't guard any of the guys on the court tonight not named Dwight Howard. He was trying to guard Talen Horton-Tucker for a little while.
Yep. Well, I want to talk a little bit about Richaun Holmes. He's back, not officially, but he's back with the team. We saw him on the bench tonight. I know he's put some time in Stockton. Apparently, he's trying to get his conditioning back after being out with COVID. It seems to have affected him a little bit more than some of these other guys. He's not known for his three-point shooting. You raved about you like the style of play they played tonight with Metu. They're able to space the floor, stuff like that. Obviously, in my opinion, Richaun is the best center on this team. And I think you agree with me. So how can they continue to play that style of play when Richaun returns?
Well, the nice thing about Richaun, as opposed to Alex Len, is he's got more athleticism. He doesn't space the floor necessarily, but you can use him, outside of the paint. Obviously, the pick and roll game is great with Tyrese. He's a lob threat, just like Metu and Bagley are. Not so much Alex Len. So you still have that verticality. One of the things that can make up for the fact that you don't space the floor is you can get above the rim, which Richaun Holmes can. And defensively, he's able to cover more ground than Alex Len can. So they can still play a similar style to this. But I again reiterate what I said at the top of this show, in that the type of basketball that the Kings played tonight, if they don't make any roster moves, that's the type of basketball that they need to keep on playing. And Richaun Holmes can run the floor very, very well, so they can still get out in transition when he's on the court, much better than if they had Keita or Alex Len, or even Tristan Thompson out there, who still runs the floor pretty well in his own right.
Yeah, I totally agree. Totally agree there. No Tristan Thompson tonight. Is he out in COVID protocols?
He's out with I thought it was like a thigh contusion or something like that,
Okay.
but I'm not 100% sure.
One thing that I really liked tonight was, like you said, they played really fast in this game, but they were also able to limit the turnovers. Only 13 turnovers in this game. I'd like to see a little bit less, maybe 10, 9, somewhere around there. But we've seen these games this season where they've tried to run really fast. They've tried to be a fast team, and they just end up throwing like really crazy passes, stuff like that. I think they did a good job of controlling the ball tonight and playing fast.
They did. They did a very, very good job of it. And when you have a guy like De'Aaron Fox who can take the ball from one end of the court to the other, in under 3 seconds or whatever it is, you don't need to pass to anybody, and that's great. But when you combine that with a guy like Tyrese Haliburton, who can run the floor and pass, and Fox can pass. I mean, we saw him make a bunch of really good reads to guys open in the corners tonight. And that's the other thing, too, is obviously this looks so much better when the Kings knock down outside shots. That's the game changer. Metu was 50% from 3. Bagley was 50% from 3. Barnes was 50% from 3. When you get those types of contributions and you're running and you're playing super fast, you have the whole width of the court at your disposal, and it makes it incredibly difficult to stop at full speed for an opposing team.
Gotham said TT had an ultrasound appointment.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. Did you see? So that Buddy Hield dunk, no dribbles at all.
No dribbles.
That was amazing.
Yes.
Full court pass, grabbed it, dunked it. I like that kind of fast break.
It was a result of him not getting back on defense. That's why he was that open. But hey, we'll take it.
Oh,
and that was
funny.
that's the other part of being able to get out and play fast and run in transition that I didn't mention earlier. In the first half, offensive rebound after offensive rebound for the Lakers, second chance points, open threes. The best time to take a three is off of an offensive rebound. I think the Lakers ended up with 15 offensive rebounds in this game.
I think they only had 3 in the
but
second half.
they did not have many in the second half at all. So the Kings were able to secure the rebound, which allows you to start the fast break.
Yeah, I think only 3 in the second half. You want to touch on your keys to the game?
I would love to.
Bryce, we're going to talk about that here in a second. Just stay tuned for the next section. We'll talk about Tyrese. We'll talk about Fox. We'll talk about trades. We'll talk about the Sixers and Tobias Harris and all that fun stuff too.
Trades, so much fun. I kid. So my keys to the game tonight, number 1 was take care of the ball. The Kings have been god-awful turning it over against the Lakers this year. They were averaging, coming into this game, 18 turnovers a game. They ended with 13 tonight, which is not a great game, but when you compare it to the other games they've had against this team, it's much, much better. They had 7 in the first half and only 6 in the second half, so closed the game on a good note. Number 2 was don't leave Malik Monk. He still got loose in the first half, but they did a much better job closing out on him in the second half. They were playing much tighter on him. Don't have the numbers in front of me as to how many points he had in the first compared to the second, but it was considerably less in the second half. And then number 3 was points in the paint, and they killed it on this one. They had been outscored 186 to 158 coming into this game. They outscored the Lakers by 28 points in the paint tonight, 70 to 42.
Kristen, I think Shaq sold his shares a while ago. Didn't he have to sell them to open like a sports agency or something like that?
He did, yeah.
I'm pretty sure that was like 2 years ago at this point. I don't know.
It's back in the news, though. It's a big there's an article on ESPN about it. He's saying that maybe he'll be back someday.
Okay. In Sacramento?
In Sacramento, yes.
Oh, wow. I like Shaq. Other than the fact he called us the Sacramento Queens.
Yes.
But I think he's retracted that by now. If you guys haven't ever read Shaq's book, you should definitely check it out. It is hilarious. He talks about how he was afraid he was going to run out of money and it was going to dry up, so he bought all these car washes. And he was getting all these quarters, and he literally had 55-gallon drums of quarters in his bedroom that he didn't want to get rid of in case something happened and he needed money. That's a lot of quarters.
It is a lot of quarters. Shaq is never short of a good story. The guy's always got something good to say.
I don't think there's anything short about Shaq.
That is true.
All right. I see Alex here. What's up, buddy? Good to see you. All right, Cal, anything else you want to talk about this game, or should we move on here?
I think we quit while we're ahead here. Great effort tonight. Kings got the victory. They score over 120 points. A lot of really, really good things to take away from this game, and the fact that they closed out the game the way that they did after giving up 67 in the first half. It was on pace to be another one of the same Kings games, but hey, they have a little momentum here, and now you have to continue to let it roll.
Yeah, and, not only closing out the game, they closed out every quarter in this game.
They did.
Which I thought was very, very important and a good stride in the right direction. I think before we move on, we at least have to say we beat L.A. We got to ring the cowbell here. We got Peja facing forward. He's happy. We're happy. We're not going to worry about the last 5 games. We're just going to say, hey, we won a game tonight, and we're going to move on, and we're happy about it. All right, guys, we're going to take a quick break here, and when we come back, we're going to dive deeper into your Sacramento Kings trades, all that fun stuff with Around the Crown.